The debate has just concluded. We feel pretty good about it. And one is based on maybe style, and the other would be based on issues. The style was pretty clear. You had one candidate, they both gave us a notepad, and I wrote on maybe a couple of pages, and she maybe had 30 pages. She was reading everything. She even read her apology. I've never seen anything like that. I am answering the questions about vision and programs, trying to be as specific as I could be, and she's 100% returning to themes, Donald Trump and come to the rally and all of that. We're talking about issues that confront Mississippi. So, based on someone scripted and someone more extemporaneous, then I hope that you saw that difference. What I tried to show today is that I was a candidate who could rise above the chaos and division, someone that could reach across and build common purpose. I was trying not to be too hard on the comments regarding, public hangings and all that. I could have been harsh on that. But I mean, the world knows what she said. The world knows that those comments were harmful and hurtful to all people of goodwill. The world knows that. I mean, they've got a number of companies now that are asking for their contributions back. Today it was Walmart. We've got Walmart. I mean, that's a pretty large corporation that gave Cindy Hyde-Smith a campaign donation this morning. They asked for her to return it. They said because her comments did not reflect the values of corporate Walmart. Now that means that we've got Walmarts all over Mississippi and all the rural areas, and all those workers now understand that that's just not a person that we need in the U.S. Senate, because it rejuvenates all these stereotypes. And so we got Walmart here now, but where are those companies that are not here now, that may be thinking about coming to Mississippi later with a senator there, with those kind of sentiments. So that's really important. She said that, but then she doubled down. She didn't apologize until tonight for those thoughtless comments. But then she had to read it. So that meant that just was not heartfelt. But you have to ask her that. So anyway, we feel good about it. I tried to talk about Mississippi first, over any person, over any party, that I would have everyone, irrespective of race or gender or religion. I gave examples for where I've done that before, working with Ronald Reagan as a freshman. I'll do that again. And I tried as best I could in all questions to be very specific and not scripted. So, other than that, we feel good about it, and I'll take your questions.
Secretary Espy, so you don't believe that her apology was genuine?
I'm not saying it wasn't genuine. I'm saying she read it. She read it. She read everything.
Secretary Espy, during the debate, you said the allegations towards you during your time with the Clinton administration were unfair and untrue. But
Yes.
you told the Chicago Tribune in October of 1994 that you apologized to President Clinton for being so careless in managing some of the details of your personal activities, and that you had failed yourself. So what is the difference between then and now?
That was more of a statement to the President of the United States. I served at his will and pleasure, and I just wanted to make sure he understood that that at that time we were talking about errors of paperwork, but nothing else. Because I told the president at the time that we made it private that I was not guilty. And this is about 1994. I told him then I wasn't guilty, and so there was a 4-year investigation. I want everyone to understand that, and. The Federal Bureau investigation said that I had not given any favors to any companies that I regulated. And that's a big deal because USDA is huge. So then the special prosecutor went on with these gratuitous charges, most of which were tickets. And I even said that's not true. That's not true. I was offered 3 opportunities to plea bargain. And each time I said no, let's go to trial. So there were 36 charges, aggregating all these tickets and all of that. And I turned out every plea bargain, went to trial, And then after a 7-week trial, there were 70 witnesses that testified for the prosecution. Actually, most of them testified in my favor. The judge dismissed 6 counts. And then the jury, after a record minimal amount of time deliberating, came back later with a complete acquittal on the remaining 30. And then, in a related case, based on a company that had allegedly given me a gratuity, they went and appealed their case to the U.S. Supreme Court. And you guys know, ask any lawyer, the U.S. Supreme Court hardly ever takes this kind of case, but they took it. And based on an opinion that was 9-0, Justice Antonin Scalia, the most thoughtful, the most conservative Supreme Court justice who wrote for the unanimous court, said that that prosecution of Mike Espy was de minimis, it was overwrought, and it never should have happened. So, what I told Bill Clinton back in that 1994, I'm just not guilty, was absolutely true. And now it's been proved.
Secretary Espy,
Yes.
in talking about pre-existing conditions, is there something in the bill that is confusing or is not completely clear that it can be interpreted? She says that she voted for pre-existing conditions. She wouldn't support a bill that didn't. So where is this contrast in viewpoints coming from?
It's coming from her attempt to scramble back to have a position that's empathetic to the healthcare conditions of Mississippi. And what I said tonight is absolutely 100% true. There was a bill put on the floor by the Democrats in the Senate right before the recess that simply said that insurance companies cannot deny coverage based on pre-existing conditions. That bill failed by 1 vote. And she was one of the votes against that particular bill. There was something at the trademark, weeks ago, and she was asked that question, and she said that she would never vote against any bill unless it had coverage for pre-existing conditions. She said that, and that was not true. So then when they went back after recess here recently, this bill that we talked about, Senator Tillis from North Carolina, he did submit a bill that tried to say, it says, Individuals with Pre-Existing Conditions Act. So if you read the bill, and you'll read it, asked by people just put out specifics on this, you just go back to my website and you'll see that bill covers individuals with pre-existing conditions, but it does not guarantee that the medical condition that's pre-existing itself will be covered. So that's a sham bill, it's a false explanation, it was a misleading answer, and it was wrong. I'm clear about it.
Secretary Espy, Senator Hudspeth asked you whether you would give back any or all of the money that you received for your Ivory Coast lobbying you did. Now you've had a little more time to consider that. Will you?
Well, that's 7 years ago or 8 years ago. That's one thing. The second thing is that I hired subcontractors, all who were paid subcontractors. And I will say no because I did my work. I did the work that I was asked to do. But I just got to a point where we had an extension on that contract. And this guy who I was asked to work for through my contract with the Cocoa Commission was just a bad guy. And I couldn't do it anymore, so I wrote my client, the Ivory Coast. I resigned that contract. I made sure that my filings were all in order, all of my collections, all of my disbursements, all there in the file. And then I told them that I would not expect any payment for that contingent that would have been in advance. So, and then, as I said today, there were some things I learned in the course of that project that I felt would be of interest to the intelligence authorities of the United States. So I called them, and I met with them in private in Washington right after that contract. And they have a record of that as well. So I believe that I satisfied the project for my client. I did not accept the extension because I just couldn't work for this guy anymore. I terminated that contract, and I paid everybody who had been working for me, and I left that employee.
Guys, we were only given 10 minutes per the term, so we're going to have to leave some time in case another candidate was to want. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you very much.